3, 2, 1. What's happening, guys? This is Logan Robinson from Hear the Spear, presented by NoleGameday.com. We're here on an instant reaction. Florida State beginning their 2024 season 0-3. An embarrassment to the football program. Just an embarrassing showing after a bye week that the Florida State Seminoles had. You know, they started the season losing to Georgia Tech overseas, and then you lose at home against Boston College, and you just see the same flaws and mistakes and bad discipline and play calling and a quarterback change that for some reason DJ and I don't know who else, he has something on the program to where he's staying out there on the field. We'll have a great discussion on that. But with me right now is Austin Veazey, our lead basketball writer and our football guy here on Hear the Spear. But yeah, Florida State down 0-3 to start the season. They lost to Memphis 20-12. We just saw DJ have a Hail Mary try there that didn't even reach the end zone for the Seminoles to have a chance. But, you know, the offense outside of just a few plays here and there, absolutely atrocious. And, you know, you had some defensive slip-ups there to start off the second half. Just overall bad play once again from Florida State football. And now you just wonder, what does the future look like under Mike Norvell in this program moving forward, Austin?
He's got to change some things pretty quickly. And it may not even be one or two things. It may be an entire overhaul of this coaching staff. As far as I'm concerned, Norvell's not going to go anywhere just because of that giant contract he got this offseason. Surtain's fine by me. Outside of that, I think you can make an argument everybody else needs an upgrade, even all the way up to general manager, Derek Ray. This entire staff needs fixing desperately because the years-long issues of bad recruiting at certain positions is finally caught up to them. And I've been as big of an advocate on the transfer portal as big as anybody. They did not hit this year. I don't think they hit on a single transfer besides maybe Lolohea, and even that's the stretch. They've got to fix so many things. And if Norvell doesn't, he's going to be out of here quicker than he got here.
Well, it all starts with the quarterback position. We talked about it on our preview. We had Nole on here as well, former 2013 national champion. And I brought it up to him straight up. I said, if we see DJ out there and you continue to do this, and I didn't think Mike would go this far after that interception that he threw. I know his hand got hit and the ball was up in the air. That wasn't going to go anywhere anyways. But still, nonetheless, you cannot stain dry. I'm in like utter shock. I feel like everybody, like I know leaving Doak Campbell Stadium, I'm getting texts. All of my family, friends there, they are in utter shock that they did not see Brock Glenn out on the field. Even Luke, unless something is pulling Brock away from the field due to injury or Luke Kromenhoek, there's no reason why not to see another quarterback out onto the field. I don't give a damn how much money you paid. I don't care what kind of relationship you have with their family. You've got to make a quarterback change. You just paid Memphis $1.2 million to come in there and whoop your ass. And you're not making a quarterback change to help. What are you saying?
I'm saying we all saw that coming too, is the sad part. Like all three of us predicted Memphis to win. I think everyone but one in our staff predictions predicted Memphis to win.
Yeah, we all had Memphis to win this game just because of there's no change really. And, the kind of vibe you're getting from this team. And just, I thought this was their worst game of the year. I mean, that's hard to say because we've seen some bad games, but I mean, this was just after a bye week and everything. I know you'll want to try to figure it out, but I mean, it was just atrocious. So no matter, I mean, it's hard to beat the other first two games that you had, but it just felt off. I mean, the offense, once again, you can't find any consistency from your quarterback there. Yes, he has some good throws here and there, but that doesn't matter. We had the same thing with James Blackman. Everybody hated James Blackman and everything. I'd kill to have James Blackman out on that field right now. I would kill to see James Blackman with this offense. But I absolutely, I want to stay on this topic though, Austin, but the quarterback position, there has to be a change right now. Or it's right now, I think Mike Norvell is just threatening his own self at this point. He's ruined. He's killing himself with the fan base. I mean, the fan base is completely shot as of right now, and I'm in shock that there was that many people at the Memphis game already for a noon game.
Yeah, after that interception, I started a Twitter thread saying every play DJ was out there on the field, I was going to tweet a quarterback at Florida State in their history that was better than him, and I think I got to 41 quarterbacks without naming Jameis, Chris Winkie, Charlie Ward, EJ. Didn't name him. Didn't name J-Trav. it's bad. And someone's trying to argue me that he's not the biggest issue. And while I do partially agree with that, he's not helping this team win. And when you're already 0-3, what's the point of keep trying him out there when
Yeah.
clearly the team doesn't respect him? He's not helping your team win. And at some point, you got to prioritize the future. And there needs to be a youth movement, not only at quarterback, whether that's Brock or Luke. There needs to be a youth movement at wide receiver. And like, let's see some Lil Wayne McCoy. Let's see some Elijah Moore. Let's see some more Hakeem Williams, who did have a couple catches. Granted, they're all on screens, but did have a couple catches. Let's see Cam Davis more running back. Let's see some of these young offensive linemen, even if they're likely not ready. Clearly, the veterans aren't ready either. So why keep making the same mistakes? It's the definition of insanity.
Yeah, I'll get to the offensive line here in just a few. I've got tons of notes that I took from this game, but and I understand that point that a lot of people are saying, and I agree, a DJ isn't the overall fix to maybe win you games, but he puts you more in the mud than anything to try to put points on the board. And right now, this offense is absolutely atrocious. It's atrocious. It's bad. It's bad play calling. It's offensive line unit. Looks like it's just in their first year, even though they're one of the biggest in amount of years. This is a veteran group across the entire college football landscape that has as many years playing at this level. And it looks like they just had their first game on the collegiate level. It's embarrassing. And, I know Alex Atkins isn't out there. I don't care. I don't care.
It wouldn't make a difference.
Yeah, it wouldn't make. And you're shuffling around offensive linemen after the first drive. It's just all over the place. You have veteran wide receivers dropping wide open balls to them. You had some drops from running backs as well. Just even when DJ has a chance to, convert, if there's a chance where they're going to get down the field, you have your other guys not helping each other. And that comes at the end of the day, it's all up to coaching here. And it's really, it's just bad football. Just really, 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 really bad football. Like and Memphis wasn't great either, ladies and gentlemen. This was not a great team coming in here that was just going to come dominate. It was pretty above average team, and Florida State somehow looked. I'll keep it quiet there. But yeah, I know the DJ. I mean, I'm in shock that DJ was still out there on the field. I don't. Hopefully, someone we get an answer from Mike here. Should be having the presser here, but I'm hoping to God that someone from the media asks him, why hasn't there been a quarterback change after 3 weeks of seeing the same exact thing?
And let's just get in front of something, because I'm seeing it in the comments everywhere. Norvell is not going anywhere. He literally just signed a 10-year, $80 million extension this offseason that probably has a $70+ million buyout. He's not going anywhere. So he's got to get this thing fixed right now. He's got to start making changes. He's got to start making changes on his staff, changes on the team. He's got to start a light of fire somewhere under this team, because I can count on one hand how many players I saw out there actually give a damn. It was Edwin Joseph who got Trey Marshalled on a BS targeting call. And Daniel Lyons, I thought, had some good effort. Juice Cryer made a couple good plays. That interception was the best play I've seen from a linebacker not named Kalen DeLoach in like a decade. And that might be it. That seriously might be it, of guys who I think actually care and want to be on the football field right now. And that's a big issue, huge issue.
Mm-hmm. One thing that's carried Mike Norvell the last few years is excelling in the transfer portal, Austin. And you were saying earlier, not pleased with this transfer class that has came in. I named Marvin Jones Jr. to be the defensive player of the year for Florida State. Oh yeah, you and I both did. We both rode with that.
We're in the boat together there.
I wouldn't think that I'd be here, 3 games in and be laughing at myself and you laughing at your own self about that pick, because I mean, go back and look at some of the tape. It sucks to see it live, but when you see Marvin Jones Jr. just kind of just lollygagging around,
the play downfield where I forget who caught it for Memphis, but Marvin Jones runs up behind him and tries to like punch the ball out, and he's running with the guy. Just tackle him. Like, what are you doing? Oh my God, it was so bad.
Yeah, the physicality nature, once again, the opponent beats Florida State on that front. And, you see some momentum shifts for Florida State, and then the other side of the ball just says, nah, screw that. We don't want to do anything with that. We don't want to ride that momentum shift. It's the defense that will start in the second half. They get down there and allow Memphis to get down the field and score. It's bad tackling, the discipline, the flags. The flags were atrocious. We go over to
Oh my God.
young defensive back there with KJ Kirkland on the punt return unit, causing
There's
the
literally
flag there.
there's literally zero
With
reason
the
because
offside.
they weren't even trying to block the punt. They were going to play punt safe and lay off, and you still jump off sides. Oh, that was arguably the worst thing that happened all game, and there was a lot of bad things.
Yeah, no, there was a lot of bad things, but that sequence there where you have the flag and then it's 4th and 3, and then Heineken dumps it off to their stud running back, and you have 2 guys there, but can't make the stop, and that's a physical running back, and it was hard. Lundy's in coverage there, trying to keep up, and
I know
Kevin Knowles tries
we
to
had a
tackle.
disagreement about this.
Yeah, we were talking about it.
He blamed it on Knowles. To me, that's on Lundy because Lundy got sucked in on the mesh point and
Well,
got
I
stuck
mean,
out of position.
I'm not saying that Lundy wasn't. It wasn't his.
That shouldn't
It
even been
wasn't
Knowles'
his
play.
fault either.
It
I'm
should have
just
been Knowles'
saying
play to
for
make.
desperate measures, I want to see a wrap up. But that's what happened
Yeah.
all throughout the game. A lot of defensive backs going for the shoulder pops. They've been doing it all season, but going for shoulder hits where if you wrap up, man, you stop the play right there, and it always allows for another 4 or 5 yards and needs another
big enough
defender
to make
come
that.
I don't know. I mean, either way, I mean, you just got to go wrap up. Just got to wrap up. Yeah, the Darian drop, another veteran dropping the ball there.
The Keziah drop on the screen was horrific.
Yep. Yeah, and like when you have chances with DJ, when you get those chances of successful plays, you got to take advantage of them, and his teammates aren't helping him right there. But the offensive line too, we're doing a lot of Florida State's doing a lot of shuffling there as well. Memphis just ripping through that offensive line at times. There's been no change the last few seasons with this unit under Alex Atkins, Austin.
None. It's gone downhill, arguably.
Yeah.
And it was announced before the game we wouldn't see Jeremiah Byers. That wasn't a surprise. But then didn't see Darius Washington at all. And granted, he had a horrible Boston College game, but we didn't really know anything there. I don't think we saw him all game, unless I'm mistaken. Then you put in Keandre Jones in the second or third series, and he instantly got blown up. There's been zero development, and we've been celebrating Atkins' success on the recruiting trail because you're getting the Julian Armellas and the Jalen Earlys, and even if you want to go back to the Saps and Richardsons and whoever else, but they're not being developed. And at the end of the day, that's what matters most, especially on the offensive line. These guys have to be developed, and they haven't been developed whatsoever outside of, I guess, Darius Washington. Maurice Smith has basically been the same player his entire career, but they've got to get something fixed on that offensive line. Richie Leonard's been fine as a transfer, but outside of that, they got to develop some in-house talent at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I was thinking about throughout this game. Where's the development at now, man? You're starting to rely on these one-year guys coming in, these veteran offensive linemen who are also not playing well, too. Looking at Terrence Ferguson, Richie Leonard. I mean, there's so many times where this O-line, the running backs trying to find any kind of openness. And you don't have Jordan Travis out there, ladies and gentlemen. That has been well apparent to start this season, which we pressed on heavily on this show the last 6, 7, 8 months, that you would be without a Jordan Travis that saved a lot of plays on offense for Florida State. Man, I mean, now you look at all the ESPN and national people that said, oh, this team relied all on Jordan Travis. Might not be wrong there. We might be eating our words too, ladies and gentlemen, because what we're seeing right now, I know DJ is a whole different caliber of quarterback. Let's not be wrong there, but he saved so many plays, but these running backs, you just not giving them any kind of chance to find a hole and utilize their talents, like Lawrence Toafili, utilizing him in space. Roydell starts that game off with a fumble, and Memphis recovers. I think Cam Davis is RB1 moving forward in that room. And you see what you like with the youngsters as well. I think I've had enough I think I know what I'm going to get out of Roydell. We'll move him down the depth chart, and you put Cam at 1, Lawrence Toafili in that 2. And I'd like to see more, if we can, see Sam Singleton in there as well. And like you said, it's got to be a youth movement, but overall offensive play and the screens after screens after screens, and Memphis eating that up every time. That just got so irritating to see, Austin. I was like, man, they can't do anything else.
DJ started 5 of 5 for 7 yards. They said that on the broadcast, and I actually laughed because they just weren't throwing downfield. And then he throws downfield the very next play. It's an interception. Like, yeah, maybe they know what they're doing. But
Mhm.
at some point, you got to stretch these guys vertically because that's what we talked about before the season. That's how the team was going to have success was run, play action deep. Eventually hit those shots over the top. But you eventually had one to Malik Benson late in the game for huge play, 67 yards to set up Florida State's only touchdown. But outside of that, man, it was bad trying to throw the ball downfield. And just going back to the running backs real quick and the offensive line discussion. Even if you take out DJ's sack yardage and whatever yardage you want to call him, the running backs only had 53 yards on 15 carries, about 3.5 yards per pop. They're better running backs than that. And I know they are. We've seen them have success. This offensive line has to do something to get these guys going.
So here's the day on DJ, 16 of 3,201 yards. Running game, like we were just talking about there, 37 yards total. Another awful game on
Yeah,
the ground
one
for
and a
Florida
half yard
State.
average. If you include DJ, if you take him out, it's still only 3.5 yards per carry. It's pitiful.
Yeah, like you're saying, we know the potential from these guys, and Coach Yak, I think, is the best, one of the best, if not the best, right now as we're evaluating talent or staff. What he's been able to do, that running back room is great, but just 3 games in a row where your rushing game is looking like a stat line of atrocity, like it just disgusting to look at. And and it's a mix of the play calling too. Some things I'm not understanding where Mike is going the 2-point try there and
Oh my
DJ's tucking
god.
it and running and almost gets obliterated. Oh, he did get obliterated, but
And that wasn't even the worst one. The worst one was Florida State finally got to midfield early, like maybe in the first half. And I think they actually passed midfield. It was 3rd and 4, and you call an inside handoff and you lose a yard and you have to punt. Like, if you don't trust your quarterback that much, just go Wildcat and give me Cam Davis and Philly.
yeah, 100%. Oh yeah, I'm trying to see. Let me see if I can find if there is going to be a Mike Norvell press conference. We'll see if we can maybe listen into a little bit of that.
I don't even want to. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, I'm going to see if there is one over here just to see, because I don't believe that we've had. I don't think he's spoken yet, and that's something. Usually they try to get Mike in pretty early
Yeah,
on
but
these
after the Boston
press.
College game, it took a while for him to get in the
Yeah,
room, and
he's
this
in there
might take
now.
even longer because he lost his former team, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, he's in there now. So we'll see what they end up saying there. We'll watch the Twitter feed and see what Dustin is tweeting since he's there on site. But yeah, I mean, you know what? Starting off this game, you saw a lot of promise with the defensive line and the trenches. Those guys showing the physicality that we thought that they would be showing all throughout the beginning of this season with Joshua Farmer and Daryl Jackson and Pat Payton and Marvin Jones Jr. off the side. Sione Leahea too as well. You saw the pressure coming in, which we needed to see in order for Florida State to win this game because the talent quarterback that they had from Memphis with Heineken. But then things started to dole out there a little bit. Memphis started changing up a little bit of their play calling, and they started getting into that second level, which Florida State was struggling. Saw a few guys go down as well. VZ and the game crier actually went down, seemed to be like kind of a stinger almost. Came back in, luckily for FSU, but they were getting pretty slim there with a handful of linebackers going down, including Cam Riley, the Auburn transfer.
Honestly, I thought the defense did enough to win this game. Like, they weren't great. They still had some communication issues, especially on the back end. But they did just enough for Florida State to win this game. Just the offense did absolutely nothing. This was without a doubt the best game the defensive line has played all year. Granted, not saying anything because they've been bad, but I mean, Josh Farmer had 2.5 tackles for loss. Daniel Lyons had a tackle for loss and a sack. Cameron and Sione Leahea each had a half tackle for loss. The defensive line did enough. The defense, I thought, did enough.
Mm-hmm.
It comes down to the offense in this game. It's crazy to say. Again, the defense wasn't good, but they did enough. The offense has to be much, much better, and that's what Norvell was supposed to do.
Yeah, keeping the offense out on the field, sustaining drives only just helps keep a healthy defense out there for you too during a noon game as well. Getting off the field, of course, on the defense is what you want to do, but having the offense go down there and score and keep these drives going helps so much. But when it's just screen, pass.
Jaylen Brown got killed on one of those screens, by the way, because he
Memphis
got
ate it
slammed to the
up.
ground. Yeah.
Yeah, Memphis knew what was coming. It was pretty straightforward throughout a majority of that game. Silverfield and Memphis was reading that pretty well, but nothing really changed. That's the one thing, like the play calling,
Never
nothing has
changed.
changed since Georgia Tech, ladies and gentlemen. And you take a shot there with Malik Benson, you utilize DJ's arm. Why aren't you trying that a little bit more? And one-on-ones, you did it. You did more in the spring game than you done in the damn regular season. If I'm being honest with you, am I wrong, BZ? You
No,
did
not
more in
at
the
all.
spring game.
Which, yeah, I mean, if we go back to that, the spring game wasn't exactly great either. But
Yeah, what you had injuries wise, blah blah blah. But yeah, I mean the one thing that I'm now gonna eye on is seeing different players out on the field. And we saw a few. We saw Edwin Joseph out there. We were noticing him. We saw Ward out there also too
well,
for linebacker.
Edwin was only there on special teams. Like after that big hit, I mean, he's made 2 really good plays on special teams to start the season. But right after I say, oh, he needs to start seeing some snaps on defense if he's going to make plays like that, and then he gets ejected from the game for a questionable targeting. But I guess by the definition of the law it was. But we saw DeMarco Ward in there at one point. We saw Jabril Rawls at one point. I remember looking on the field going, who the hell is 30? Going into the roster and finding out. So at least we're seeing it a little bit, but we got to see more of it.
There's a lot of comments in here too about Mike Norvell and adjustments, and we're not seeing a whole ton from what we used to see previously with him on the last few teams. There's also been some questions in here in the comments about leadership from players and holding each other accountable. That's been the theme of this show. If you listen in here weekly with us on Hear the Spear, we have pressed on this. This was my biggest question mark going into the season, was this leadership that was lost from the previous year and the year prior to that as well. So much of this team relies on leadership, accountability, and guys in the room taking charge, and this being a player-led team rather than coach-led, because Mike can go as far as he can. There's only so much he could do at some point. It's now up to the locker room. We heard from DJ Lundy last 2 weeks ago before the bye week after facing Boston College, and said this is up to us now. Mike Norvell, coach, says all this stuff and everything, but it's got to come down to us and the leaders in the room, and it just doesn't seem like that's really connecting anywhere. And now it's time to see the youth come in. It's 0-3. You're out of any kind of contention. Now you're just trying to fight for 3 or 4 wins. I mean, I know you're trying to get a bowl game, of course, but
where's even 4 wins coming from right now? You should beat Charleston. Yeah, you should beat Charleston Southern. Outside of that, I have no idea.
Yeah, no, that trip to Dallas. I mean, I was wanting to go that, but I got to go to a wedding, so I'm actually looking forward. This first time I'm like, dang, on a Saturday, I'll be up in Asheville. A lot of breweries I've heard. Looking forward to being up there. Shout out to my best friend Chase. Yeah, man. Shout out to Chase, my guy getting married, but I'll look forward to that. And the SMU team is no joke as well. They're going to bring. Well, not
they've been pretty bad too, but they've at least won.
I'm now comparing teams though to what I see on Florida State
side.
That's all I'm doing. Not like college football level wise and where they're at, but just competing with Florida State. Now games are a chore, it feels like now, sadly, from just the demeanor I see from some of these players out there. And you would love to see more leadership from some of these guys like Pat Payne. I'd like to see more from Farmer. DJ Lundy and such, but these were also some guys that there was some chatter this offseason about wanting to jump up their NIL game and such like that, and all starts to connect the dots here as you see some play and not seeing the leadership come out. And I just find it really hard to believe whenever Niall Lawrence Stampa was on here with us last week. If you haven't listened to that interview, I highly suggest you go listen to it. And I just wonder how much this team wants to fight on the field whenever you've got DJ out there. And why wouldn't you just give Brock Glenn a chance out there, and a guy that was thrown into the fire last season? Why not just give him a chance? I mean, now you have to, but this should have been done way earlier. But I feel like this guy would bring a lot more energy, a lot more vocal leadership, a lot more communication, a lot more try. And overall, I think he's a better quarterback than DJ. Am I wrong? I mean, unless something goes crazy.
I don't
Unless
know.
something goes crazy, I think he's a better quarterback than DJ, and I
I don't
haven't
know
even been
because
able to see him take a snap this year.
Brock didn't look great last year, and granted, I
Yeah, I
fully
don't care
understand the
about last
situation
year.
he was thrown into. I don't know how high his ceiling is, but that's part of the reason we want him out there is because we don't know. We know what DJ is, and he's not it. So
Yeah.
find something that we can build around. Um, yeah, it's bad. It's
Yeah,
so bad.
and maybe there is some bad trust in the quarterback room, but it has to be really, 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 really bad in order for that to be the case.
There's just no one to rally the troops. And the best teams, as we've heard from a lot of players that we've had the pleasure of interviewing on this podcast, the best teams are player led, where they can look to certain guys in the locker room and go, "Yeah, I know who's going to rise up to the occasion when we need it." I don't think anybody on this team feels that way about anybody, and it's apparent on the field. Like I was saying earlier, I don't think anyone on this team actually cares, and that's an issue. That's a huge issue.
hmm Oh, it's a massive issue. Absolutely. If you have any questions or topics you guys want us to run into, throw them in the comments below. We'll take some more of these during this week's instant reaction. But yeah, I just think you'll see more fight with Brock Lynn out there. And that overall, I don't know if you'll see so much of crazy better play from him. He's a youngster. This would be his, going into the second year, but I don't count last year. But I think you'd see better fight from this team overall with him out there and leadership. And I think that's what this team needs. You're at the desperate mode. You need someone to be out here and be vocal on the field and communicate to your guys and have some accountability and go out on the sideline and try to fix things. And I just don't see that kind of leadership from DJ. And Luke Kromenhoek only had 1 year of football and varsity, lit it up there, but you know now Lawrence Stamble is like, why don't we just see all of them? Why don't we just see all the quarterbacks out there if it's going to be this case? And sure enough, Florida State loses it, but you didn't see any other quarterback rotation come in. And this is just putting Norvell. He's just digging a hole deeper and deeper and deeper. And I don't know how deep you can possibly go. I think it's like at explosion point if we see DJ trotted out there again as a starting quarterback going into their fourth game of the season, Austin.
The sad thing is, I still kind of expect it. Like maybe it's just gonna be one of those where he trots out there for the first series or two, and if he sucks, then they pull the leash. But at this point, we've seen everything we need to see. And again, it's not just a quarterback issue. I think there needs to be some changes at wide receiver, some changes at running back, some changes at offensive line, some changes on defense. Again, if the veterans are gonna be the ones making the bigger mistakes, there's zero reason to keep playing them. And at some point, there's got to be a fire in this team. There's been zero fire. There's been zero leadership, as we've talked about ad nauseum at this point. And is it the NIL money keeping DJ out there? Maybe, but as we've seen in the NFL, that can make an impact. But DJ's not making that much money to where you say, he's not worth.
Well, you're not going to have anybody in the stands that are going to pay anything. You're not going to have anybody in the stands next Saturday night. I mean, you play Cal, but who wants to be there? Like you're losing money by him being out there. You're kind of doubling down with losing money by continuously putting him out there. As a fan, I don't think you really want to go to the game. If you're a diehard, of course I love being at games, but when you see it on the field, bad play, and you just see the demeanor from the players out there that don't look, like I said, it looks like it's a chore going out there to play for you and represent the university like it is. To play that way, lackadaisical, bad discipline, no accountability, same play calling, no direction. Why would I want to go sit out there or pay money to go see it? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, they're just doubling down and losing money every week. There's a question here: does a loss of Jared Verse and Braden Fisk expose Pat Payton?
Yes and no, because Payton is a talented player, but he's just not giving effort. He did have a really good, I don't know if they credit him with the sack, but he had a nice play where he had a good spin move, dipped his hand under and got Hennigan down for a loss. But outside of that, I didn't really notice him that much. And I feel like that's the whole issue with the whole defensive line. And that's something I said. Did I say it on here a couple weeks ago where I was saying, I was worried that the guys that we heard a lot of noise about in the offseason about testing their market in the NIL with Farmer, Payton, Jackson, even Lundy at some point would just pack it in and not give much effort. They haven't given any. Farmer I will say, had a better game this game, but It's not just a Peyton issue. I think it's an entire mentality issue on that defensive line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you do see a statement here from Stan on Facebook. I've seen more leadership from some of the freshmen. And yeah, I mean, I think Florida State, the last couple of classes that they brought in some of these youngsters, you see such upside and we hear things and see things at practices, but just on the field and guys on the sidelines as well, and or going out there on the field and such like that. And I saw Elijah Moore going out there once Malik Benson tried to go there for that Hail Mary, and he was out there pretty early to try to get him up. You know, there's definitely there's a it just gets into a tricky spot, but it doesn't really matter. You know, this is where Coach Norvell has to be the head coach and make changes, but you want to see some of these younger guys get a chance. And they also don't want to go against some of their veterans and try to, get in their spot and whatnot. But it doesn't, at the point now, you're 3 games into the season, you've lost all 3 of them. No matter what, if you're a young guy, old guy, or whatever, everybody's got to start getting on the same page of accountability and trying to build some kind of fire, like you were saying, VZ, and build a locker room that has leadership in it, because I just think it's out of the door right now in Tallahassee. Yeah, there's some questions here about, do the players care? We just kind of
Nope.
covered that one. And the gray hoodie did not work. So that's done.
It didn't work for me either. I just instinctively threw it on this morning, not know Mike was going to wear it. And then he wore it too. I'm like, oh, maybe we have a chance. Didn't have a chance. Kind of sucks.
There was a question out in here about, Atkins not being on the sideline, but
I really don't think it makes a difference, like, whatsoever. He's not a play caller. The guy that's in his place for the offensive line has been doing this for 20 years and has worked with Atkins in the past. He knows what he wants. And we saw the offensive line last year wasn't very good. Why should we expect any different from if Atkins was there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I agree for Phillip here. I mean, Memphis did not look fast. They did not look fast at all. I felt like I was watching a very, very slow team that FSU was facing, but they were not speedy. Just big boys with physicality. And when you're facing a Florida State 2024 team right now, if you bring more physicality on Saturdays or Monday nights, you're going to win games against Florida State. So that's just, I thought there was some smart play calling too from Silverfield and his staff as well to extort some of those holes in Adam Fuller's defense that we've seen year in and year out on third down and getting those conversions. Man, it is rough being a Florida State fan and watching offenses on 3rd and 13s and 3rd and 9s and 3rd and 10s convert. Man, you just kind of already know what's about to happen in your head, and you've already I've already got the tweet pre-written ready to go, and everybody in their heads is like, oh, here it comes, first down. They're going to get the first down. I noticed this too. I mean, Lawrence doesn't look the same kind of, and I don't know if it's just the way they're utilizing him and such, but I did think I don't know, doesn't seem, I don't know, some I'm a monitor at least going into the rest of the year.
I think it's partially hesitation because there's just nothing opening up in front of him. You saw the one big gain he had in the first quarter, maybe second quarter. But there's just no open space for them to get going. That's a big reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, our little junior did have a bad play there on his assignment of allowing that touchdown.
He's been bad in general. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I do miss you, Greedy Vance. I do miss you. Hope you're having fun.
I miss Jerry Jones.
Yeah, Miss Jones. I mean, we can go through a whole list and be the whole entire starting unit for a majority of those guys last year, except for a handful of other guys. Like, offensively.
I'm just scrolling through the transfers they took this offseason, how many did they take? 17?
Yeah, go ahead and we'll list out W or L.
Yeah, so they took 17 transfers. Sean Murphy, we haven't seen, so L. Cam Riley, he's been whatever.
He's just in there because linebacker, he had nothing else in there, so you had desperate mode to go grab him.
Yeah, Omarion Cooper came back. He was in there today a lot. I saw in the second half. I don't think he made any good impact.
Yeah, we don't know yet.
Jacob Rizzi, we haven't seen. Richie Leonard, I will say, has been the one W on the offensive line. Roydo Williams, L. TJ Ferguson, L. Sione Lolohea, I guess a W.
Yeah, I guess. I think he's well, moving in the next week, I've got him over Marvin Jones Jr. as
Oh,
starting
for sure.
sure. Yeah, Marvin Jones Jr. lost his starting job after this game. He should.
Tamiwa Dorajaye, who we were all high on, we haven't seen at all, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know where he's at.
DJ Uyunglele, we've talked enough about him this podcast. I'm already sick of him. Malik Benson finally did something this game, so I guess jury's still out there. Devontae Brown, L. Jalen Lucas got hurt. He showed some flashes.
Yeah,
Grady Kelly, he's there, I guess.
he's just there.
Earl Little Jr., L. Jalen Brown, again, just haven't really seen enough of him to make an impact either way. And then Marvin
Yeah,
Jones
and
Jr.,
that
L.
hasn't done anything, and the way that you're play calling with him is not going to work either. So
Yeah. And then Marvin Jones Jr., L. And then I should throw this one in. DJ Lundy, because they got him back out of the transfer portal, has been an L.
Yeah,
true. He's been bad. He's been arguably the worst
Mhm.
linebacker in that room outside of Omar Graham, and that's saying something.
Yeah. So I don't understand the whole Grady Vance thing too. I've got question marks just off the coaching staff, unless there was something that happened behind the scenes that I don't fully know of. But it was pretty point blank that, Greedy was going to be your start this upcoming season, but then you tossed in your little junior to take up some playing time. And, maybe, USC was ready to drop a bag and grab Greedy, but you replace him with Earl Little Jr., who ends up not starting for you, and you have Kevin Knowles in there.
Who, for Knowles' credit, I have been the Knowles basher on this podcast, so let's be upfront about it. He hasn't been terrible. He really hasn't. He's made some decent plays. He's been the one guy back there that's actually trying to communicate with others. I just don't know if others are listening. But he doesn't have the high upside that Grady Vance does. Grady Vance showed some real promise, especially in the 22 season. Last year, kind of got washed to the side by Jarian Jones, but Jarian was elite. And Greedy's still a damn good nickel corner. We don't have a damn good nickel corner right now.
No. I'm trying to think if there's anything more on here that we want to go into. I mean, Florida State has another game. They're facing off against Cal, who just beat Auburn last weekend.
Yep.
At Auburn.
Jaden Ott's going to run all over Florida State if they show a similar effort.
Mm-hmm. We'll have a long show this next Wednesday, and it's a majority of these now are not really previewing the upcoming game. It's more of what needs to change. What is happening.
Why do we suck?
Norvell is hard-headed, man. We've learned that. Very hard-headed. And to me, it's got in order to revitalize the team and get some kind of spark and build a fire and get something going, man, where these guys where they want to go play and not look like it's a chore, it's got to be at a quarterback change at the very top. And if not, then no bowl game at all. I already not predicting them to make one. And
no, and at some point they've got to show something to sell recruits on for the next few years, because you can't sell success anymore. Last year's 13-0 is already out the window because you started at 0-3, so you got to have something to sell these recruits on. And at this point, it's got to be playing time. So you got to start showing these young guys, hey, let's get them in the game. Show these recruits, hey, you can play if you're good enough. They got to do something at the very least.
Yep. It comes down to recruiting now, and you're going to start hurting yourself a lot. And we'll keep an eye out there on the recruiting trail for Florida State, because I'm sure it's not too great, and a lot of conversations are going to be had. But yeah, coaching staff, there has to be changes. Mike Norvell held on to a lot of guys that we have question marked for years, and he's held on to them, and that's hurt him quite a bit. And I understand the loyalty and everything like that, but it's a business at the end of the day, and your job is to get wins in the column at Florida State as a football program. And right now you have 0 heading, well, we're in the middle of September, and you had a week 0 game. So, piss poor, pitiful play from Florida State once again this week, and only 12 points on the board and no quarterback change. And just the same old. This pattern continues in Tallahassee. And right now, you got to completely flip everything. But interested to see what Mike says. I'd probably hear the same old, but yeah, I think that's going to do it for instant reaction. Went a little bit longer than I had thought, but here we are. Hope everybody enjoys the rest of the slate of college football. As always, you can listen to this podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify. If you're on YouTube right now, hit the like button if you'd like to. I understand if you don't want to, but it helps us out. and gets us to more FSU fans. But we're live on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. every week. Nonetheless, no matter when, loss, the Willie Taggart days, the 2024.
Yeah, if we could deal with the Willie days, we can deal with this.
Oh, yeah. So we keep churning, baby. So we'll be here live Wednesday. Maybe we'll have another former Nole on, trying to get on another 2013 national champion with us. We'll see if we can grab him for next week. But we'll be live on this YouTube channel, Facebook, and also Twitter at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Everybody, try to enjoy the rest of y'all's weekend. Safe travels back home if you made it to Doak. And, yeah, y'all have a good weekend. Peace.